Hello, today's video offers you a surefire strategy, a simple yet devilishly effective method of analysing language. And it boils down to looking at letter sounds, or listening to them if you're going to be fussy about it. What we're going to do is think about how sounds in words complement or reinforce the effects of whatever similes, verbs or adjectives that you're looking at. And trust me, done right, looking at letter sounds, there's a real smell of level 9 about it.
So, when you're fiddling about with alliteration, or even individual words, you do well to identify plosives and fricatives. Plosives are letters like b, k, d, t, and fricatives is mainly the f sound. The reason I'm being overly dramatic in articulating those letters is because collectively I call them spitting sounds. You're kind of spraying them as you're saying them. But as you know, there is no use in just identifying those sounds. That's about as much use as a one-handed croupier. What you need to do is think about the effect that those letter sounds bring. Plosives and fricatives in general tend to have two main effects. The first one, let's have a look at this line from Simon Armitage's darkly comic poem Kid, about a disgruntled Robin who's really cheesed off with his lack of power in his partnership with Batman. And the poem starts with him saying, "Batman, big shot, ditch me in the gutter." And as you can see from this exam paragraph, I'm saying that B sound is a vehicle for conveying feelings of bitterness. It really amplifies Robin's frustration, his anger even, at Batman's behaviour. Once I've analysed that verb ditched then, I've locked onto alliteration, the plosive sound, just to add another layer of interpretation into my response. Same deal here. We've got a narrator expressing her troubled relationship with her father by describing him as Panzerman, a panzer being a tank. So when it comes to crafting that exam paragraph, once I've explained the meaning of the metaphor, Panzerman, I've deepened my analysis by toying with the effects of the plosive. That's going to set us on that level 8 to 9 pathway. But plosives and fricatives aren't only used as a linguistic trick to craft a mood of aggression or bitterness. I've used an example with fricatives here, f sound. It's the same effect as plosive really, but I've used the fricative here to demonstrate another effect on the reader that these forceful sounds can have. This is a great line from former poet laureate John Masefield. Here's a motto to get you out of bed on a wet Tuesday. Go forth to seek, the quarry never found is still a fever to the questing hound. One of my favourite lines of poetry that. It basically means keep at it, keep striving, hold on tight to your dreams. And clock that deeper analysis in that exam response. I'm saying that f sound, a bit like the plosive b or k, doesn't just create aggression, it can actually be used to generate feelings of passion or energy or enthusiasm. There you are, summed it up for you. Put it on a bumper sticker, as my old dad used to say. There are two key effects to those spitting sounds, those plosives and fricatives. On the one hand, they can create a quite negative mood, generating a feeling of aggression or hostility or harshness, bitterness, whatever. But they can also generate an atmosphere that's more upbeat, crafting a sense of passion or vitality or enthusiasm. You can also monkey around with that s sound, referred to as sibilance. That can shape meaning, that can create effects too. Oftentimes it works like a plosive or a fricative to cement an atmosphere of bitterness or anger. As you can see here in Toads, a poem where Philip Larkin famously likens work to that fat ugly amphibian. Now have your ears flapping, try and listen out for the tone. Larkin says that work, or the toad, soils with its sickening poison just to pay a few bills. That's out of proportion. And once again, in the exam paragraph, after I've explained the language technique, that metaphor of the poison, I've excavated more meaning from the line by considering the sound, that repeated s sound or sibilance. But sweet suffering succotash, sibilance is a flexible technique. A bit like we saw with plosives and fricatives, it can have a different effect. It won't always signpost feelings of hostility, because that s sound, that can have a relaxed tone. It's kind of pregnant in contentment, rich in tranquility. And you can see that here in this line from John Keats's poem To Autumn. He describes autumn as season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosomed friend of the maturing sun. That sound, that languid, relaxed tone, is making autumn sound very peaceful. And finally, you can see how I've woven those ideas about that S sound into the tail end of my paragraph, setting that thing off on its level 9 trajectory. And the great thing to remember, folks, is that whether you're looking at the language paper or the literature paper, anywhere really where you're doing close reading of an extract or poem, you can roll out this trick of exploring letter sounds. It doesn't even have to be alliteration, does it? One word will do. And there's a delicious paradox in considering fricatives or sibilants or whatever. It's so clever and yet so simple. It only takes a little bit of practice to get your eye in, or maybe your ear in. And do you have to do this every paragraph? Good Lord, no. You'd look mental. But once or twice across a close reading task, it's a crafty stunt to pull.
Right then, you've seen how you can hammer home your level 8 to 9 credentials with some intelligent assessment of what letter sounds bring to the party. Hopefully by now you're well and truly pro-plosive, fricative friendly, perhaps even a sibilant supporter. And before you get increasingly Taylor intolerant, I'll take my leave and wish you good people the very best of luck in that exam hall.